Hey guys, and welcome back to a new trade recap. Today is the 27th of October, and yeah, today I was trading a little bit Bitcoin USDT here on a Binance chart here. I used a little bit of leverage, a 10x to be exact, and risked right around, I think, $250 on my account. Of my total balance, I risked $250 with a 10x leverage for a total of 2 trades. And afterwards I started monitoring how Bitcoin is actually performing using this strategy, and I was really shocked. That's why I'm making this video today. I haven't backtested the Scalper stochastic strategy on Bitcoin yet. I started to do some manual backtesting, but yeah, I was impressed of the results I saw, and I decided to trade this morning. So everything started, in my opinion, I checked all the charts after I woke up. That's the early Asian session. Everything started after I saw this reversal bounce. We had this sharp peak here, this peak formation here on the Scalper Pro inside the green reversal band, which basically tells you it's very likely for a bullish reverse. And we had this massive sell-off with a V-shaped recovery quickly afterwards. So what I did is I measured this whole move after it formed, and I wanted to see a bounce of a important Fibonacci level. And that's exactly what it did here. Let me zoom in. Now I moved it. Here we go. So I wanted to see the fib level of 50% being hit, and then, like in my playbook, I didn't have to look for anything else. We saw this retracement back up, this V-shaped recovery, retracing back again with very small bodied bearish candles. So I wasn't really worried about this thing not continuing to the upside. So I was watching the stochastic RSI, and the stochastic RSI kept nicely below the 50 level. So I was still anticipating a trade, but I had to wait until the Scalper Pro is turning green again. And on the same candle, where the Scalper Pro turned green again, right on this candle here, that's why this candle is green as well, because you can use the Scalper Pro with candle coloring, so you don't have to watch this line all the time here at the top. But basically what I did is I waited for the Scalper Pro to turn green, and on the same candle we got this little stochastic RSI crossover. As soon as this candle closed, I entered into my position with a 0.14% stop loss. Not too risky. I placed it directly on the 50% Fibonacci level. If I would have lost that trade, I would have looked for another trade maybe somewhere around this support area, or I would have drawn a few more fib levels somewhere around this area if I would have looked for a new trade. But look at this massive bullish engulfing candle. This candle is eliminating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the last candles, just shooting above it. So volume's coming into the market. The stochastic is saying yes, buy now. The Scalper Pro is telling you we are starting a short or mid-term bullish trend. It took quite some time, but eventually, I know it's a long position below the EMA, but I took it anyway, because I felt like, we were still above the VWAP before the VWAP reset here at New York local time midnight. We're below the VWAP, and that's the thing that I don't like. The EMA is most of the time too slow to adapt to a fast changing trend like a V-shaped recovery. And that's usually where you make good profits and easy profits, because all this move to the downside was just a huge fake out. So let's continue to the next trade. So now it is 0:20 New York local time, and we eventually made our way above the 144 EMA. And what I saw here is we sort of consolidated. So we had this little consolidation. I would only draw it like this. I don't like to include those top wicks. It's a 1 minute chart anyway. Maybe if I'm on a 1 hour chart I would include it. You can also narrow it down even more to those very, very, very small bodied candles. Right here, this little consolidation. We broke out of this consolidation to the downside, retesting the 144 EMA, but I didn't care. I wasn't trapped short. We didn't get a Scalper Pro breakout to the downside. So, and also the stochastic RSI was already in the oversold area. So all I was looking for, even taking into consideration, was a long opportunity. What did I get afterwards? 1 minute later at 0019, we got this massive bullish engulfing candle above the VWAP, bouncing off the 144 EMA. So I placed my entry again for a 0.13% stop loss with a 10x leverage, looking forward to achieve a 2-to-1 risk to reward. We walked up quite quickly, then we pulled back to the VWAP right there. It's unfortunate it's always putting that label above it, but right here where the VWAP is, we pulled back, and what did we get? We had a oversold stochastic RSI again with a new cross into it, and I waited until the stochastic RSI is pulling back above the 20 level, and I got this, both conditions met, right here on this candle, and we also got a nice little body candle. So I don't like to enter on a small doji like it is here. Let me actually pull this back for a second. So I don't like to enter on a doji like this because I don't know where to place my stop loss. I like to have tight stop losses at the most recent swing low. So for example, if I would have entered here, I would have had a 0.04 stop loss, or I would have moved my stop loss down here. But as of now, there's no confirmation for it. Maybe price wants to retest the 144 EMA and my stop loss is sitting right on the 144 EMA. How silly would that be? And giving it a stop loss all the way down till here, price has to move up quite significantly. That's why I waited for a nice little indication that we just bounced off the VWAP here. So I entered again, or even though I already was inside a position, but I saw this thing coming up, and everything lined up, the SCALPER Pro and the stochastic RSI for both of those entries, and that was it. I stopped trading after those. I considered those 2 trades. I was happy with the profit I made. So those were my 2 live trades, and afterwards I didn't go back to the Bitcoin chart for quite a while because I wanted to prepare for the London session, which started just a little bit later on. So I did not take this trade. Would have been a somewhat valid trade even though the stochastic RSI has crossed down here, right where we have been accumulating on the VWAP. So we came back to the VWAP, we break out, we pull back, and we continue basically. So we had those very small bodied candles right on the VWAP, pulled away from it. So I would have still taken that trade, even though the probability after 3 winning trades in a row would have been smaller. I would have still considered it a valid trade. Otherwise, you could have entered, for example, on this candle with your stop loss maybe on the VWAP, which might have ended in a little loss because we just consolidated within this area, forming a last peak before then surely but slowly trying to retest VWAP and EMA again. Did not work out. The SCALPER Pro turned bearish as well, and we formed some sort of a trend line here. And what do market makers like to do? They know that people started to look at this like a might have been a bullish triangle or something. That's why I don't like to trade trend lines most of the time, because we got this fake out. The SCALPER Pro turned bullish, but this time the stochastic RSI was already overbought. So yeah, even if I would have looked at Bitcoin, I wouldn't have taken this trade. Afterwards, we curled up, we went back below 80 on the stochastic RSI, but the candles are still green and we're above VWAP and above the EMA. So we had to make this first move, and on right exactly on this candle right here, we broke out of the SCALPER Pro, or out of the SCALPER Pro bands after a squeeze, after the bands got significantly smaller, and we continued further to the downside, with the stochastic RSI being in the oversold area basically for the whole time. Then, with almost 0 to none movement, we pulled back up and had this bearish engulfing candle with a stochastic RSI cross and a SCALPER Pro breakout again. We are very close to the reversal zone, but I still would have considered it a valid entry. But we did not take profit on this trade, but shortly afterwards, the stochastic RSI continued to curl up and crossed again, went back below 80, and I entered on this bearish engulfing candle for another 2-to-1 winner here on Bitcoin USDT 1 minute chart, because I was already done with trading the London session for US oil and US 30. That's what I traded today. And yeah, afterwards we just consolidated, perhaps trapping some volume short, not consolidating, and now we broke further down to the downside. I haven't analyzed what happened afterwards, but we can do it right now. So let's have a look what happened here. So we broke down and we turned bearish on the SCALPER Pro, but the stochastic RSI was already pretty much oversold. So we continued to curl back up. So we're only looking for short opportunities now. We turned red again, but the stochastic RSI is already oversold again. All right, now we are having our pullback to the 144 EMA, but the SCALPER Pro is bullish, and we get our cross. And then we curl back up. We have another cross, but we are green. Okay, so we come back up and we cross and we are still green. This candle could have been a worthy entry because we pulled back, had a nice little peak formation above those relative equal highs right here. So I could imagine that lots of people had stop losses or breakout trades, or maybe around this resistance their stop loss has been triggered because they might have jumped into a short position right around this area because they're afraid of missing out, and then they placed their stop loss around those two highs, maybe on a EMA as well, and then they got faked out, triggered, and price reversed. Where I would have placed my entry would have been right here. We turned bearish on the SCALPER Pro. The stochastic RSI is not yet in the area where we oversold. We had this beautiful bearish engulfing candle with a nice peak formation. So we had a nice bullish candle, pin bar, inverted hammer or another doji with a bearish engulfing candle afterwards. And the SCALPER Pro confirmed the signal. And if you would have placed your stop loss right here, looking for a 2-to-1, you see how this strategy filtered out all those bad trades during this consolidation by itself. Didn't even have to worry about getting stuck in consolidation. This would have been another winner. Right now, after this winner, I usually like to wait a little bit after a winner, because especially if it's a somewhat of a bigger move, it's better sometimes just to wait a little bit, because price likes to pull back to the 144 EMA or even the VWAP, and then you're trapped in your short position. And yeah, I mean, if you try to do the same thing here, we got a bearish crossover right on this candle. Let's say we wait for a little engulfment, which would have happened right here on this candle. We got our stochastic cross. On the next candle, we would have received a nice little bearish candle, so that would have maybe been it. We would have placed our stop loss at the most recent swing high, looking for a 2-to-1 risk reward, which would have hit take profit as well. And afterwards, I would just call it a day. Even if you just took those two setups this morning, that's more than you need. You don't have to take all these setups and spend 8 hours in front of the chart, basically. Not that it's a total of 8 hours, but that's just me making my point. And now we're also pretty dangerous here. We have a bullish divergence here on the SCALPER Pro with price, because here we made a lower low, and here on the SCALPER Pro we made a higher low, which is bullish divergence. So you could be looking for a not strategy based pullback to the 144 EMA, for example, for maybe a 1.5 risk reward, or maybe higher to the VWAP, testing those old highs again. Who knows? We will find out very soon. But this is my trade analysis, or my trade recap for the 27th of October. Alright guys, that's it for me for this Bitcoin USDT 1 minute analysis. And yeah, I will see you in the next trade recap.